Good morning. Today in Science 7, we're going to be taking some notes on the integumentary system. And if you don't have your book and some blank notebook paper and a pen or pencil handy, could you please go get that right now and join me back here in a minute. So in your book, I'd like for you to turn to page 416. And for your paper, I'd like for you to fold it like I taught you to do with the terms, where the edge of the paper that has the holes gets lined up with the red line that you can see from the other side of the paper, so that when you open it, you have two columns. Okay. I have a piece of paper that's like that, that I'm going to type in today. So there's my paper. There's this gray line is supposed to represent the fold, and I'm going to make that bigger and type in the notes here. So always when we type notes or handwrite notes, either one, we want to make sure that we put the date, and today's date is the 31st of March. I'm not sure why I'm underlining there. 31st of March. In the year 2020, of course. And then we want to go and give our notes a title. So this is Science 7, Chapter 19, Section 19B notes. And these notes are going to be on the integumentary system. And I'm going to underline this part. And you can do the same thing on your paper. So now we have our date, we have our title, so that when we go back and look at our notes, we'll know exactly what the notes covered and where we can find that information in our book as we take the notes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to just talk about is what is included in the integumentary system. So I'm going to put includes in the left column, and then I'm going to go over to the right column, because these are Cornell notes, and tell what is included. So this includes the skin, hair, and the nails. We're going to talk mostly about the skin, though in the video you saw yesterday, or the videos, I should say, they talked about hair and nails as well. The skin has two layers. And that's what we want to put right there. Notice that I'm skipping a line in between these terms so that the terms stay nice and neat. And I should tell you that I'm going to ask you to send me a picture of your notes when we're done here. So make sure that you're not just watching the video thinking, I don't need to take notes, because you're going to have to turn those notes into me for a grade. So skin has two layers: epidermis, which is the outer layer, and the dermis, which is just below the epidermis. And we're going to take a look at those different layers here in just a minute. Let me let you write that down. Two layers, epidermis and dermis. Now in your book on page 416 is the picture that I'm going to show you now, which is why I ask you to have your book open. Okay, so we can see the epidermis, this upper layer here that looks sort of darker pink or red, and then the dermis layer is this lighter pink layer, and you know that you see that the dermis layer has all kinds of things in it, while the epidermis really is just mostly made of skin and some passageways for sweat and hair. Then there's this layer underneath that looks sort of like cotton balls in this picture. Those are actually fat blobs. And so this layer of fat here in the what's called the subcutaneous layer, or the underskin layer, is important for insulation and cushioning. You can see that we have our hair follicles in the dermis layer, where our hair begins to grow and pushes out through our skin. We have muscles that can contract and make our hair stand on end, which gives us goosebumps. We have sweat glands that can produce sweat, which is secreted onto our skin from pores and allows our body to cool. We have nerves that provide for that allow us to know when we're being touched, or we know the temperature of something, or we can tell how firmly something is touching us, what kind of pressure is being applied. And then, of course, we have blood vessels running through our skin, which are involved in bringing nutrients to the different cells of the skin and carrying away waste, but also regulating our body temperature. So those are the skin layers. And I actually meant to go back to our note sheet. So here we go. So the epidermis and the dermis. And the only thing we're going to do besides talk about those two aspects of what it includes and what the skin layers are what are the functions of the integumentary system as a whole. And I mentioned some of those as we were going through. So sensation, in other words, you can sense the environment, temperature, pressure, heat. Protection. So that outer layer of cells it doesn't feel like it would be, armor, but that outer layer of skin is all dead cells, and it just makes a protective barrier to keep viruses and bad things out, to keep water in. And then, as I mentioned, the blood vessels help with temperature control. Okay, so 3 functions of the integumentary system. Now we're going to talk about some different features of the integumentary system, different things about the skin, or different things that the skin makes that help protect us. The first one that we're going to talk about is the oil glands in our skin. And a lot of us, we do not like feeling like we're oily. I know my skin can be pretty oily, and it's like it's shiny, and there's all kinds of products that are meant to keep that oil off, but the oil actually has the protection of, or the function of keeping our hair and skin soft and water resistant. So it's good. Too much oil can be bad, but just the right amount is actually good for us. Okay, the next feature we want to talk about is earwax, which I don't actually really want to talk about it. Too much earwax, problem, but our earwax actually has a function to repel insects and to keep our eardrums soft and flexible. And because it's flexible, it can receive the vibrations from the air that are carried by sound waves, and our brain can interpret those vibrations as different sounds. The earwax is good. We have the fat under the skin, the subcutaneous layer, and I already mentioned that cushions and insulates. Remember, lard is a really good insulator. We did an experiment about that. So having a layer of fat under your skin helps insulate your body and helps endothermic creatures like us be able to control our body temperature. Okay, then we have nerve receptors in our skin that allow us to detect temperature, pain, pressure. Is there anything else? And of course, touch, which really is pressure. So that's good if we want to detect our environment. We want to know what's going on around us, if something's pressing up against us or not, if it's something sharp or something that we don't have to worry about. The little hairs on our skin help us with motion sensing. Of course, the hair in your head can help with insulation, but I'm talking about the little hairs that maybe are all on your arms and legs. We have calluses that can form to provide extra protection for areas that receive a lot of pressure. Or like rubbing. So if you regularly are using your hands and they get a lot of pressure in a particular area, like say when you're raking or shoveling, then you might form calluses on your palm from that. I know Sam, my son, has calluses on his fingertips from where he plays the guitar. And then we have our blood vessels and our sweat glands together. Scroll this up a little bit. And of course, they help, as we already mentioned, with temperature regulation. There's so many different things that God put together into one package to make up the largest organ in our body, which is our skin. Our skin alone probably weighs like 6 pounds in most people. And it has a number of different functions related to, and different ways that it protects us and allows us to sense things and allows us to control our body temperature. Okay, so I'm going to leave that here while I tell you that for the rest of today, what I want you to do is read pages 416 to 419 in your book, and then I want you to answer some questions on page 421. And all the details for that are listed on your dashboard. But don't forget, I also want you to take a picture of your notes and submit them to RenWeb so that I can see that you were keeping up with us today as well. And again, the details for where to turn all that stuff in will be on your dashboard. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.